You're listening to Kempire here on the Kempire Radio Network.
Here we go now. Hey, y'all. What's going on? Welcome back to the Kempire channel, your number one source for pop culture news and music, entertainment, reality TV, and so much more. Be sure to let me know how you would rate this week's episode of The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, and also let me know where you are watching from. Shout out to everyone watching on YouTube, Facebook, TheKempire and Kempire Daily on Facebook. We're live right now. We're also live on Twitch and X. We are live there. Singer at DST says, I forgot to watch the episode. Angel's rating it a 9. Nora's rating it a 9. Deborah gave it an 8.5. I thought it was a really interesting episode for a variety of different reasons. It had all the elements that you need for Housewives in regards to just petty drama and resolution, but then also some deep family stuff. We have a lot of family stuff to talk about in this week's recap. And if you're new here, be sure to check out some of our other recaps of The Real Housewives, including we just recapped Real Housewives of Potomac on yesterday. So if you missed that, be sure to check that out. We also did an extra video, and mods, or anyone that's in the chat, if you could just drop the link to the video that we did yesterday in regards to the Brooke Ashley spilling tea on an interaction that she had with Wendy Acefo from Real Housewives of Potomac. So be sure to check out that video if you haven't already. And what else? And everything else in pop culture. We don't just talk about Housewives here on the channel. We talk about everything in pop culture. And you can also hear some of our live recaps on the podcast. Okay? Nelson says, oh, I remember that tea. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Takesha says, 9.5. Love Bronwyn's moment with her mom. Very dark and very authentic. It was, because I remember seeing some comments on X before I watched the episode about something that happened between them. And I was like, and then as I'm watching, I'm like, this is not that deep. I kind of agree with Bronwyn's mom. But that's before Bronwyn's mom, this conversation went left. Because at first I was like, well, last week when we talked, not last week, was last week? I think it was last week. We were talking about some things that the mom said about, you wouldn't be where you are without Todd. And we were sort of like, I mean, is she lying? But no. This week, the conversation did go left. And I was like, whoa, Bronwyn, I get it now. But I always, the mother-daughter dynamic, the parent-child dynamic is always very complicated. And your parents are probably the one. Some of you, I think, said it in the comment section, your first bully is, or I think called in and said oftentimes your first bully is your family. And I think a lot of people can relate to that. But anyway, Deborah says, my heart was breaking for Bronwyn. I'm telling you, at the very beginning of the conversation, I was like, okay, all right. And then, we'll get to it. I do have notes. But let me know how you guys would rate this week's episode of The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City from 1 to 10. And as I said before, you can hear this on the podcast. If you listen to us on Spotify, you can also tell me your rating in the comment section. There's an option to comment on podcast episodes. So be sure to check that out. Let me turn off my notifications. I did turn my notifications off. So I don't understand why I'm still getting notifications. All right, moving on. Hold on, let me make sure I turn it off on here because there we go. That way I won't get notified while we are live. Okay, let me see what you guys are saying in the chat. Ambra says, both my parents were my bullies, but now I'm slowly getting along with my mom and no longer speak to my dad. I think a lot of people have these family things, especially when you watch these shows and you're like, wow, so your family is very much like mine. It might be different color, different religion, different backgrounds, but very similar issues. We are far more similar than we are different. I think our differences have been weaponized against us to keep us separated. Just saying. That's just my thought. But let me start from the beginning. And don't forget, guys, if you haven't already, be sure to like the video. Be sure to share the video. Sharing is very, very important. Let's talk about Lisa, because we begin where we ended last week, and that is at Lisa's special lunch that she has for the group to prove that all these rumors about her are false. These lawsuits have been dismissed. It actually is a big womp, 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 because the lawsuits haven't been dismissed. At least the one that they were talking about, with the guy accusing her of borrowing money and not repaying it back and giving her a credit card, and she's been using that credit card and maybe giving her jazz tickets. And all of Lisa's proof didn't necessarily prove anything. And pictures of her and John on yachts and doing other things, I don't know. It didn't land. And I don't know if she really thought that it was going to land. You know what I mean? I don't know if she thought that it was going to land. All right. So let's just talk about what happens at this lunch. So Lisa accuses Angie of only owning 1.5 of her salons. Because apparently Angie has some salons that she owns, and then she has the whole franchise of these salons. First of all, good for Angie to turn her business into a franchise. I don't understand necessarily the money that's made from franchising your business, but obviously there is a big business to do so. But Lisa's accusation is the fact that you always claim that you own 10 salons when you only own 1.5. And Angie's like, that is a lie. I own 3, and the others are franchise. She says, which I'm very proud of that model. Angie might be the only one on this cast that might have legitimate money. I'm trying to think about the people that's on this cast. Well, we know Mary has, well, no, we don't know for sure. Because, Mary's now suing one of her business partners or the people that handle the business of the church for stealing millions of dollars. So I don't know what's going on there. We will get to Mary in a second. Okay. And Angie says to Lisa, you go French fries and I do franchise. So Mary's in the corner, so she couldn't hear what she said. She said, French fries? Why are we talking about French fries? So Heather tells her, and she's like, no. She says, you do French fries and I do franchise. Mary, well, her commentary, oh, that's a good one. That's a good one. You got Mary's approval, Angie. But next week, it looks like it goes down between Mary and Angie, which is not a good thing. However, we do know, fast forward to the future, to settle everyone's spirit, they're in a better place. Okay, they're back to being good. Mary says, that's a good one. So Angie then, it's like, I didn't even know this. So apparently she partnered with Lisa to put, Fresh Wolf? Remember the cosmetic line or the beauty line or luxury men's line? She collaborated with Angie to put Fresh Wolf in her salons, which is a big deal, especially when you have a franchise. You're putting this product in all these different salons. But apparently Angie's like, you didn't even market it. You didn't do anything. But now I hear you collaborate with other hairstylists. Well, and at least like, well, they think my hair is beautiful or shiny. So we had that moment. And first of all, this is stuff that we didn't even realize even was happening. So Angie brings that up, and she also said, because she starts to like, oh, it's a luxury, because Angie tries to downplay it. She's like, it's like a C-list line. And she's like, no, it's a luxury men's line. Angie claims that that Fresh Wolf should be in Walmart. So some feel, and you guys will let me know, replay crew will let me know, do you think Angie's comments about Fresh Wolf was a dig at her son, Jack? I don't think that it's a dig at Jack's business, because Jack is away for 2 years. So what exactly is happening with his business? This was basically a business given to Jack from his parents. Because you're not telling me that he has this business and then he could be away for 2 years, and that business is what? Oh, collecting dust on Angie's shelves. Let's be honest. So Angie says that these should be in Walmart. Okay. Vicky says on Facebook, a dig at the product. I didn't take it. I did not take it as a dig at her son, because I don't think Angie would do anything like that. And sometimes you have to look at people's intentions and character. I don't think that it was a dig at the son. However, if the son heard it, he'd probably be like, that's not cool. Let's be honest. If he heard what Angie said, he probably would not like it. So I could see where someone might say it's like a dig at the son, but I wouldn't go as far as to say like, oh, you're talking about the kids. But you see how we've talked about this recently, how people love to jump. Don't be talking about my kids. G says it was definitely a dig. It was definitely a dig. And it's supposedly his business, but not really. I think Angie really wanted to take the dig at Lisa because realistically, the business is not Jack's. The business is Lisa's. Because again, Jack is away for 2 years with a business. Because if you're going to launch a business, you're not going to, remember, he freely wanted to go on this mission. Now, I'm not going to judge the mission, but he freely decided to go on this mission. Why would you go on a mission when you have a legitimate business that's doing well? I'm not saying it's impossible, but I'm pointing these things out to you because I think it's important to think about that when thinking about, well, is it his business? Is it a legitimate business? Is the business? I thought the business was, I didn't even think about the business in the last 2 years. And I'm a man. You'd think this would be something that I might want to partake in. But no. Could we go to Fresh Wolf right now and get products? Let me see. Please hold. Let's do this live. Fresh Wolf. Let's see. Men hair care products. Okay, Fresh Wolf is not the first. I don't see a website, y'all. Okay, I see an Instagram. I see the Instagram. Let me go to the Instagram. Fresh Wolf products. Look, the last video that they posted was 6 days ago. Okay. Apparently it's active, y'all. And it's a black guy promoting it. So I guess this is maybe a recent collab. But here's the thing. 6 days posted. They know what's coming up on these episodes. So it's not shocking to me that all of a sudden there's a post, okay? According to Fresh Wolf Products, it says, glad we could be a part of Dimitri's day. All products available on Amazon. Also make sure to check out his TikTok. This was 6 days ago. Let me see when the last post before this was. September 29th. Not bad. Okay, hold on. Let me keep checking. September 14th. Okay. Let me see. September 7th. Okay. September 5th. Okay. I just want to see August 29th. All right. I'm seeing consistency. Consistency's important. August 26th. Okay. August 24th. I'm just trying to go. They got a lot of black people on their website. It's by Henry and Jack Barlow. They got a lot of black people on here. Okay, is this for us? Is this for us? Not by us. She got a little tan. She ain't black. There's quite a few black people on here, y'all. Let me find out. I find that to be very interesting. I see more black people on here than white people. The only white person I see on here is Jack. I'm just saying. Okay, when was this posted? This was posted July 3rd. I mean, it looks like they've been posting consistently. Oh, this must be his friend because he's in the photo shoot with Jack, the black guy with the dreads. This was July 10th, July 12th. There's a lot of black people on here. Is he a business partner? Hold on. I'm sorry, we've digressed. I'm just trying to do some digging. Okay, the only other there are pictures of Jack and Henry on this website, and then there are pictures of, I guess, their black friend. Okay, I do find it interesting though, because I can go as far as a couple of rows down, and then the last post was 2023 of December. I'm guessing that must have been the launch. And I'm feeling like she knew that this came up during the season. Now I need to kind of piece together the timeline because I'm like, because the posts have been a little. I mean, he is back from his mission, so maybe that's why the website is starting to pump again. Not pump. Oh Lord, not pump. All right, I'm sorry. I had to look. Blue Hoodie says, Jack is attending multiple cookouts. Apparently so. Patrick Mommy says, given contrived. That's the thing. If I knew the timeline of when they were filming, but also when Jack came back from his mission, because remember in this episode, Lisa reveals that Jack will be home in like 2 months. They filmed for like 3-4 months. So it makes me believe that maybe because this came up, that's why they started posting it. Or maybe because he came home and now he can work on his business again. Okay, but who knows? Who knows? I just wanted to do a little research. So they have this back and forth. Angie and Lisa have this back and forth about the line, okay? Lisa says that, so this is where the conversation takes a shift because Heather decides to call out Lisa and Angie. She's like, okay, you go low, and then Angie, you go even lower. So she says it makes it hard for her to defend either one of them. This is like probably the first time that I was sort of looking at Heather, okay, you're really playing Switzerland here. Like, I don't feel like you're up Lisa's you-know-what at this particular moment. Okay. Lisa then says that that she can be very vulnerable, but she grew up very different than everyone there. What does she mean by that? But this is reminding me of her conversation with Heather. She's like, I'm very different than you guys. Like, what does she mean? How did Lisa grow up very different than any of these people at this table? I wish she would have, honestly, that would have been a moment that they should have said to her, Lisa, tell us how you grew up that's so different than us. What makes the way that you grew up different than the way that we grow up? So she talks about being vulnerable. So she starts tearing up and getting really vulnerable. She's talking about vulnerability. So she feels like you're supposed to be tearing up. And then she says, I grew up very different than you guys. She says that the issues that she's having with Angie especially hurts her more because I guess their relationship. Remember, they used to talk all the time, all times throughout the day, apparently. So fast forward to the end of this episode. I believe Angie when she says that Lisa told her to dig up stuff on Meredith. Because if I was in the studio, I'd play that clip again. Meredith F's everyone in New York. Okay. I don't think they will ever be the same after that moment. Would you? Realistically, if that was your friend that said that about you on national television and Kempire, the YouTuber, blogger, journalist, podcaster, all around king of pop culture, keeps playing it year after year, would you forget about that? Just asking. Okay. But it's interesting because despite all of what was thrown at each other at this lunch, Lisa does get vulnerable and talks about why this especially hurts because it's Angie. Angie apologizes and she's like, it affects me, especially because it's you as well. Then all of a sudden, Lisa gets more vulnerable and she looks at Heather and she's just like, you're like my biggest champion. You sometimes, you hold me accountable when, even when you don't agree with me. And I was like, where is this going? And Heather's just like this. Yes. But I will say the lunch ended pretty nice. Don't you think? The lunch ended pretty nicely. Then we have a couple of little short scenes in between before we get to this other scene. And one of the scenes, we have Mary and Heather having coffee. I'm liking, and here's the thing that we don't realize. Again, I always tell you that we're watching an edited show. It wouldn't shock me that there was maybe a bigger storyline coming with Mary and Heather becoming closer, but it's not shared during the season. Because you remember, there was a moment with Heather and Mary last season where it was like really sweet. And Mary had some really sweet things to say about her in the finale when they were doing that game. So I was sort of like, I think they're working on their friendship. So, season 1, Mary said that Jen Shaw smelled like hospital. So apparently hospital also has a taste. She was just like, oh, tequila, it tastes like hospital. I don't want to know what hospital tastes like. I'm assuming she means it tastes like alcohol, maybe like rubbing alcohol. That's what I'm assuming. That's what she meant. But her words are, it tastes like hospital. All right. So then we have another small scene with Whitney and Justin at home putting together a poll because I guess in the previous home she had the poll, but she has not put the poll up in the new home. And she talked about how people used to gossip about Whitney having a pole in her home. So she really would just talk about it a lot. And, I look, I guess in the Mormon culture there, it probably was scandalous to have one, but it's become so common for people to have poles or to do the pole dancing classes. Even in these suburban areas, they're doing stuff like that. So I don't think a pole is what it used to be, but maybe in Salt Lake City, it's still very scandalous. So she wants to put a pole back up in her home. All right. So this is reminding us about her storyline in regards to, the loss of her business. I'm still trying to understand what exactly happened with the business. Like, what was the downfall? Why didn't it work? So many people have beauty lines out now and they're still doing decently. And you have a huge platform to promote it. Did Justin do something with the business that made it fall apart? I don't understand. What happened to the jewelry business? They were accusing you of the Alibaba of it all. Just asking. But then she says she gives this metaphor. She's like, I felt like one of those flowers that closes up, but now I'm trying to open back up. I could do without these scenes. So Lisa and Bronwyn, because that was one of the conversations that happened during the lunch that went left. But at the end of it, Lisa and Bronwyn, they make somewhat of amends, but they knew that there needed to be more conversation. Hence why we have this scene with Lisa and Bronwyn meeting up at the Vita Tequila Lounge. I didn't know she had a lounge. Apparently Bronwyn didn't either. Bronwyn was just like, when did all this happen? So she's like, like last summer, we started doing this. It looks like a Longhorns to me. Anyone know what a Longhorns is? That's what it looks like to me. I was like, it just don't look like a Vita Tequila Lounge. It looks like a cabin. But again, maybe that's the aesthetic for Salt Lake City. It is very cold over there. All right. So Lisa opens up by apologizing. And she's like, I want to apologize and take accountability. All right. So Bronwyn talks about how she had trusted Lisa with some very sensitive information when it comes to her daughter. And she felt like she was the perfect person to open up to. But you remember a lot of that stuff went left because Lisa knows her late baby's father's family. So it got really murky because Lisa was defending them and Bronwyn had her own experience with them, which wasn't great. So I think that's where things started to fall apart when it comes to their friendship. Okay. And Lisa, in her defense, was like, anytime someone brings up John, I get triggered, and anyone talking about him is going to set her off. Bronwyn says, well, I didn't like the fact that you were saying that I was sucking, gout D. She didn't say that. I just brought it back up because it's funny. She said, I didn't like the fact that you were saying I was sucking gout D for clothes. And it was something that she says that was a conversation that her and Lisa had years ago. Because remember, they've been friends for years. And she says, I don't like the fact that you took something that we had a conversation about and twisted it. So what exactly did you say, Bronwyn? I can see Bronwyn making a joke like, oh, I have to, suck, Todd's D tonight in order to get this Birkin bag. I can see you saying that to a friend and Lisa run with that as something, making it into something else. And of course, Bronwyn did not like that because it's like, you're making it seem like I only love my husband because of things. I understand why, and especially if he's going to see something like that on television. And some people probably already believe that about their relationship anyway. All right. So then after they get vulnerable and they have these conversations and the conversation gets a little tense, but then quickly they're able to start moving forward and they agree not to talk about the husbands or the children. And Bron was like, I never talked about your kids. I'm surprised that Lisa didn't say, I don't talk about your kid either, but who knows? It could have been edited out. She didn't think to say it, or maybe she did talk about the kids. So we get an update in regards to Jack. Jack is coming home soon, like 2 months, according to Lisa. She's like, can you believe it? It went so quickly. Bronwyn then says, well, guess what? My mother's moved in with me. Gwen's boyfriend's living with me. I thought this was a powerful statement because I thought this was interesting that Gwen says that her mother said she feels like parents should be grandparents first because she feels like she's so different with Gwen, Bronwyn's daughter, than she was with Bronwyn. which is so interesting to me when we see the conversation with them later, because it's like, I guess you can't teach an old dog new tricks, because it seems like she still believes what she believes when it comes to Bronwyn. And I didn't know that Bronwyn was pregnant at the same time her sisters were, but her sisters were, well, her sister. I don't know, both sisters were pregnant? I don't know. But she said that she was pregnant at the same time. But hers was more than likely out of wedlock, and she was in school, and that was against religion and things like that. So she talked about how her mother says that she feels like she's very different with Gwen than she was with her. And the Bronwyn says in her confessional she doesn't want to be like her mom. So she's making every effort not to be that way. This is where we talk about astrological signs. She's a Virgo. So she says that, she does see sometimes that she can be very rigid, very Virgo. And Virgos can be very judgmental. They can also say things without realizing that it's going to affect people's feelings. So I can see, I don't have a Virgo mother, thank God. Hate Virgos. But I could probably see where Gwen is just like, oh my gosh, she's so particular. Everything has got to be a certain way. Everything's got to be her way, blah, blah. So she said because of the way that she grew up, because of the mother that she had, I wonder what her mother's sign is. I can see the Virgos already. Look, Nelson. Lexi says Bronwyn has been through some things. I hope she's getting help. Yeah, she really has been through some things. Kendra, thank you so much. Kendra, I'm on dinners on Kendra tonight. Thank you, Kendra. Kendra says Lisa should have spent more time focused on her skincare and moisturizing and taking a break from the fast food. Lisa's a hard 50. She's not using Fresh Wolf. Kendra, thank you for another super chat. Kendra says Jack came home around June 10th. Ah, thank you, Kendra. Fresh Wolf started back posting June 20th before it was November 25th. Yeah, she knew was doing damage control. Thank you, Kendra, for doing the research. I figured as much. But if it really is his business, it makes sense that while he was away for 2 years, but any business like that, you can't leave for 2 years and that business is going to be okay. And I'm with all the businesses that Lisa has, I'm sure that one fell to the wayside. But again, my thing is, if you're going to launch a business, I don't know if it was really his passion project, but if you're going to launch a business, you don't leave that business for 2 years and go on a mission. But okay. I mean, he's not the only person a part of the business. Henry's a part of the business, but Henry's what, 12? Henry's young. Okay. So everything ends well between, so in regards to Bronwyn says in her confessional, because she tries actively not to be anything like her mother. And she's like, is that wrong to say? No, it's not wrong to say. That's how you feel, Bronwyn. That's how you feel. Oh, I didn't think about that, Takesha. Takesha says tax write-off with the business laws. Mm-hmm. Nicole says, I miss the Todd father. Rather see him than her mom. I mean, one grump for another grump. I don't mind seeing the mom because I feel like this is real when it comes to what's going on with Bronwyn. I'm not going to lie to you and say it didn't run across my mind saying, did she move her mom in just so that this could be her storyline? I do believe the storyline. I'm not saying that it's not real. But part of me is like, did she just move her in so that they could film and have these conversations? Because remember, her mom lived in California. And she was talking about her mom last season, but we didn't see her mom. So now her mom lives. So I don't know. It could have just been happenstance in regards to, the father has Alzheimer's. They had to put him in a memory care facility. She also had a serious brain tumor. So it could have just happened the way that it happened. But I'm not mad at it. I don't mind seeing the Todd father, but the Todd father doesn't understand what needs to happen. And Todd father doesn't do a lot of talking. It's more like, At least with the mom, she's going to give us some words. We might not like the words, but she's going to give us some words. Okay. All right, guys, don't forget, if you haven't already, be sure to like the video. It's an easy, free way of supporting my channel. Speaking of supporting the channel, we also have new merch. HouseofKempire.com has new merch. The Are You Okay merch is available. And we also have some tour merch. So if you came to the Kempire After Dark the Villain Era Summer Tour. Even if you didn't come and you wanted to be a part, we have multiple different types of merch available right now. One with my face, one with just the Kempire Tour merch. All of that's available at houseofkempire.com. Check out the description for more details. Go get your merch today. Okay. Singer DSC says, Braun was better than me. Taurus Moon says, if that was my mom, she wouldn't live in my house or step a foot in it. I will say this, as someone that knows I have a friend that has a not toxic relationship with her mom, but an interesting relationship with her mom. And she feels there's this level of obligation that a lot of children feel towards their parents. And I think that's partially societal, cultural, in a lot of respects. So I think that is part of the reason she might feel guilty. Because you heard what she said last week when it came to her father. She feels like when he has a good day, that he should be at home with her. He also treated her away when she got pregnant as well, but you see, she still feels a loyalty to him. There are just a lot, mind you, I feel like there's more children like Bronwyn than like some of us. They were like, you disrespect me, I'm done. Exactly. Missy says, when your parents become ill, it's easy to say what you would and or wouldn't do. Yeah. Irene says the fabric for Kempire's merch is top tier. One of the comfiest shirts I own. Thank you, Irene. Which one did you get? Let me know. I will say that it is really good quality. That's why we switched the providers because we had I'm not going to name them because that'd be shady, but we had a provider in the early years of Kempire merch that quality wasn't the best. Singer DSC says kudos to Kendra for coming in with the receipts, right? I appreciate that. It's a team effort over here. Paris says it's because kids love their parents and want their approval. Yeah. There is that as well. Lexi says, when it's your mom, you never know what you would do. She loves her mom, warts and all. Yep. Okay. Let me get back to my notes and let's talk about Mary Cosby. So Mary Cosby goes to her, because you remember Andy asked her about this, I don't remember how many months ago. And he asked about the church and what's going on with the church. And she said the church was being renovated. Apparently, because remember, there were rumors that the church closed down and Mary disappeared. Remember? You remember those rumors. Apparently, the church was being renovated for 2 years by her cousin, Big Joe. Okay. Big Joe's her cousin. And I thought it was so funny when she said, and he milks it. She said it not once, but twice. He milks it. Mary is so funny. Mary is so comfortable now in front of the camera and delivering these lines. And I don't feel like everything is scripted or performative when it comes to her, because some of that stuff you just can't write. Some of that stuff, it just comes out of that Mary Cosby brain. So they walk in and I thought maybe the picture of the grandma with Jesus would be different, it would be gone, but no, it's still there. So Mary walks in and she's looking at the church and she finds that there are like nails in the cushion. She was just like, you've been renovating. It took you a year to renovate a floor and you couldn't find the nails in the cushions. Ooh. And then he was like, Mary, you got a good eye. I don't know if it takes a good eye, Big Joe. So Big Joe, her cousin, they're just taking in the church and then they sit down and they have a conversation about Robert Jr. And she says, because of everything, we're 100 times closer. Oh, it's the sun is coming out, so it's washing me out. I might have to move. No, I'll leave it. Who cares? You guys, this is the sun. The sun. Finally, we get some sun over here in Europe. It's been but I did not come here for the sun, obviously. It's that time of the year in regards to, this is the type of weather that's here. Ooh, they just rang the bell. What does the bell mean? I don't know what that means, y'all. Hopefully it doesn't mean fire. No, I don't think so. I think we would have something else. Gene says, hold on. Gene says, Big Joe came in there with his eyes closed, swinging hammers. It's so funny. I'm in the Europe cities. Yes, Mr. Melon Magic. I'm in the Europe. No. I'm convinced that when Kay from Real Housewives of Potomac said Europe cities, I'm thinking she's referring to the islands of the Caribbean. Because I ain't seen a Europe city on her Instagram and many swipes. Okay, and many swipes, I did not see a Europe city. So I'm assuming she means like the Turks and Caicos. She went to Jamaica. Maybe she mean the colonies. That's what she wanted to say. Okay. Pink Pop Star says, eyes closed is diabolical, but accurate. Big Joe. And I just feel like that's part of anyone that's a contractor. Delay. I think that's just part of the culture. Maybe. And guys, if you love my skincare, head on over to my TikTok at TheKempire on TikTok, and you can check out butter products there. That's available on my TikTok shop. Exactly. Deborah says British Virgin Islands, Europe cities. Okay. But okay. All right. So Mary's having this conversation. She says that she's 100 times closer to Robert Jr. And she says the downside of that is that now she knows about the highs and lows of what he's going through. Okay. Because apparently she did not know what he was going through. I don't know if I believe that 100%. I think if she didn't know what he was going, I think we saw him and we were like, this kid is going through something, Mary, and you need to check on him. All right. So, but again, when you're in it, you can't say what you would notice from what you won't notice. So we're going to give a grace. So Big Joe starts to get a little emotional about it and say, he's a really good kid. He's a really smart kid. I did not expect us to take this left turn into the conversation about the step granddaddy husband. I was like, but it makes sense because I completely forgot that Mary Cosby's mother died. You remember? She did the interview with that YouTuber. I was like, I forgot that she died. I remember when it was reported, and I was just like, she died. So she rehashes what we already known, which I kind of get uncomfortable about because then I'm just like, oh, here we go. Because I will give this to Mary. She's a little bit more convincing when she tells a story than when a Portia tells a story. Okay? So she rehashes that her grandmother at one day had told her to come to the church. Well, no, she had said, come and embrace being back in the church and be born again and blah, 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 blah. And Joe compliments Mary, like, and since you've been here, you've really built the church. Okay. So she then talks about her mom trying to come on in and take everything over. I believe Mary, and I believe Mary was given the church to her grandma from her grandmother. And anytime someone dies, this causes conflicts in the family. And I do believe Mary's mother did want to come in and take over the church. And maybe because she loves the church, but also we have to keep in mind, when Mary took over the church, she took over the church and the multiple businesses. Her grandmother was very, very rich. So all of what Mary has was from her grandmother. And we're talking millions of dollars. You got to have millions for this company to be stealing millions that Mary's now suing. So she talked about how her mother, Big Joe talked about how the mother came in and one day she was trying to, tell this one and that one and what to do. The police had to come in and remove the mother. And because of that, the mother stopped talking to Mary. So Mary was just sort of like, Mary makes it seem as if she wanted to have a relationship with her mother and talk to her mother, but her mother didn't want to talk to her. So she let that be what it was. Okay. And she says now that her mother has died, that's where it reminded me. I was like, oh yeah, her mother died. I completely forgot. Of course, I should have known that this scene was not going to be just about the renovation of the church. It was going to be rehashing some of the stuff that's going on in Mary's life. So she says now that her mother's died, it kind of feels official that, I think in Mary's mind, even though her and her mother weren't talking, that because her mother was still alive, that there was always a possibility that they could foster some sort of relationship. So she says that now that she's dead and gone, it feels official. I thought she gets emotional and she cries and she takes out a Louis Vuitton. That looked like a Louis Vuitton mask. I don't know Is she still? Do people still wear their masks? Who still wears a mask? Like if I'm on the airport and stuff like that, or the doctor's office, I'll put a mask on. I really should be putting a mask on when I'm on the subway, because that's where a lot of germs are. Germs and bad air. But anyway, I've digressed. Let's talk about Angie. So Angie is at her salon. Her salon looks busy. It's in a big building. So Angie is at her salon. Her license has fallen, behind because she hasn't really been practicing. So she has Heather come and she wants to practice on Heather. So Angie tells Heather that Lisa, she's like, oh, the other day, Lisa sent her assistant. So Heather's like, okay, for what? To pick up the Fresh Wolf products. And apparently Lisa ends up Venmoing Angie $600. So Lisa then texts her, I sent you $600 via Venmo, and I can send the cleaners too. Sorry, your salon is so dusty. So Angie texts her, remember at the lunch at the top of this episode, Angie and Lisa made peace. However, I'm going to give Lisa some grace when you start thinking about what someone said at that lunch, and God only knows what else could have been said at the lunch. We're watching an edited version of this conversation. But when you're rehashing in your head, have you ever had a conversation with someone, you get in an argument, everything's good, and then you think about something that they said during that argument and you're mad all over again? I'm giving Lisa grace. I'm trying to give her grace here because that's what I'm thinking. You know what I mean? I'm thinking, okay, maybe she thought about something that because I'm with Angie on this one though. Not just, it doesn't make it right. I thought we made peace and now we're back in a bad place. But okay. Hold on. Oh, Angel says, going off the Amazon pricing that pays for 42 bottles of shampoo. Oh, man. Pageant Mommy says that Lisa is miserable. Of course, Heather made a hard pivot to chastise Angie because Angie takes a dig at Lisa. And I agree about the hair, though, because Angie's hair is gorgeous. And even if Angie dyes her hair, she's dyeing it. Remember, we've been talking about Lisa's hair coloring this season. It's like she's probably trying to keep out the gray, but it's like a what did she refer to it? What kind of black? Oh, a bowling ball black. I was like, and Heather's like, see, and then you take a dig like that. That was a very typical lightweight dig, Housewives dig. That was shade. Angie is stepping into her own. Angie, I'm glad I'm here for it because at the beginning you were falling in line, being Jen's lapdog and then Lisa's lapdog. No, Angie is finding her power and I'm here for it. Because she came out with that on her own. I was like, okay. So Lisa and Angie go back and forth via text. Angie says to Lisa, you should have sent that money to other people that you owe. And then she also says that, the only reason why those bottles were dusty is because they've been sitting on the shelves for 2 years. Apparently, they were sitting on the shelves in the basement. I don't even think they were out and about. Do they even have, I'm sure they probably have some male clients come to the salon, but we generally see women there. But okay. So then Lisa texts her back and says, at least I don't have to borrow money to take vacations and blah, 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 blah. And then Angie's like, I'm not engaging in this anymore. She's like, I don't know what she's talking about. You're the one being accused of taking someone's money and not returning it. So I don't know where she got that from, but we have to keep in mind, Angie and Lisa used to be very close, especially when she came on the show. And then they were talking for hours during the day. So they probably spilled a lot of information to each other. So I thought that was very random for Lisa to mention Angie borrowing money to go on vacation. But that could also be Lisa taking a small part of what Angie said and spinning it as something else. You know what I mean? Because for all we know, Angie could have borrowed money from her dad because for whatever reason. And because no matter what, I don't think Angie's hurting. And I'm sure some of you still borrow money from your parents. I haven't, but I'm just saying, I'm sure some people do. And it's not because you're broke, but maybe you were broke that week, or maybe maybe your money was tied up in other things. I don't know. But I just found that to be an interesting statement. But the beef between Angie and Lisa is back on. And if you watch their social media behavior, then you already knew that the peace was not going to last long in that scene. Okay, let's talk about Britani and Whitney. Oh, Britani and Whitney. So Britani and Whitney meet up. And I almost completely forgot that they had beef in episode 1. Did anyone else? I was like, why did they need to have a sit down and have a conversation? So they go to this orchid place and they're having a conversation. And Britani says that she feels bad for dragging Whitney's business, especially after seeing what Lisa had to say about other people's businesses. Whitney also apologizes for what she said in regards to Jared and about her sucking the D. That's a lot of the sucking of the D in this season, of them throwing that at each other. Okay. So this leads to a conversation. So Whitney's like, so where are you with the whole Jared of it all? She says, well, we're still dating. You're still dating him? Yes, we're still dating to be engaged again. Britani is so delusional. She is so delusional. To be engaged again. I don't see them getting married. They really shouldn't, because I think he is as thirsty as she is. And you can't be in a relationship with two thirsty people. No. I think it's all fun and games for now, but Britani, you don't need this man. I think right now it's funny, but please understand, we do not want to see another Jared storyline next season. Let's move on to someone new. Okay? You're not even a full-time housewife. You don't even need a man. You can just be unhinged and diabolical as you currently are. Okay. So they have this conversation about Jared, and Britani talks about, part of the reason why they did not move forward with their engagement was because her kids were not happy about it. So Whitney says to her, like, well, is it because your daughter said, stop dating for a period of time? And Whitney feels as if maybe if that is what you do, that will show your daughter that you value her. And Whitney's saying this because she talks about the relationship issues that she's had with her own mom. So in some respect, I agree with Whitney, but in another respect, I disagree with Whitney. I get where Whitney's coming from, but I always believe that you should prioritize your relationship over your children, because I learned a long time ago, when you prioritize your relationship, meaning your partner, your husband, your whatever, it actually is better for the children. However, this particular situation is a little different. This situation with Jared is not healthy. It's not normal. It's not, it's not a good thing for anyone. But she's also talking about, I don't know how old Britney's daughter is, because the way that Whitney made it seems like she's grown. But Whitney feels like, what's scaring me with you, Britney, because it feels as if you're not understanding what I'm saying, and you're not understanding, you're not wanting to prioritize your daughter over Jared. So, and honestly, that's the way it landed for me. Okay. The way that it landed for me is that she did not want to take a break from dating Jared, because she's like, well, if I do that, she doesn't even talk to me. I'm going to be at home with no one to talk to. Britney's growth is stunted. Again, Heather might explain, like, some of this comes from being in the Mormon religion. Remember last season, Heather gave us a really cool explanation as to why women in the religion will prioritize their marriage over the children. Like, it's part of Mormon culture. Elsie says, no, Kemp, kids over dates. No, not in Britney's life. Look, Latasha says Britney should prioritize herself and leave Jared alone. I think that is what Britney should do. She should prioritize herself over being with somebody. And I think that's the conversation that should be had. And that's probably what the kids want. It's not about prioritizing them. It's more so prioritizing yourself and your family. But okay. Kendra, thank you. Kendra's paying for my dinner tonight. Thank you, Kendra. Kendra says Brittany is the type of little old ladies always saying, "Bless her heart." The delusion she has is unbelievable. Yeah, she does. Hey, Miss Esquire, thank you for being a member for 44 months. Miss Esquire says, I think when you are in a healthy romantic relationship, you flourish and your other relationships benefit, including your kids. Exactly. You said that beautifully, because this is not a healthy romantic relationship, especially when Whitney says that this man is at the gym, not working out, but flirting with other women, that he's one time claiming you, not claiming you, you get engaged, you're unengaged. It's always like this up and down. This is not a healthy relationship. And the kids probably don't mind if Brittany's dating. They just don't want her dating Jared, because God only knows what they have seen or what they've heard in those Utah streets. This Esquire also says, Britt doesn't know how to exist without a man. She's very male-centered. Singer DSC says that Jared gives TJ vibes. You think so? I don't think so. Let me see. Brian says, it's got to be the Osmond Salt Lake City status that Brittany is attracted to. There's that element, because, the Osmonds are a very popular family within Utah. I mean, just celebrity as well. A lot of self-conscious and consciousness and delusion. All right. Mary Jane says that Jared wants camera time to be famous. It definitely gives that. Sevi says Britt is a pick-me. Kat says Ariana Madix is very male-centered as well. I can't stand women who can't be single. Ooh, that was a random name to bring out there, but okay, I can see where you're coming with that. KEW says, I understand the potential dilemma spouse kids when it comes to marriage, but here it's just messy mess that ruins everyone's mental health. Ham Sandwich says, Jared wants his cake and eat it too. Now I want cake. Thank you. Sinchera says that, but Marie Osmond is divorced. Care Bear says that Brittany seems emotionally 16. Emotionally 16, mentally 16, reading language 16. Exactly, Henny. Exactly. Henny says, it would be different if her and Jared had a solid relationship. I think her daughter is trying to look out for her, and Brittany is also probably more focused on him than rebuilding with them. And even the way that she approached the conversation with Whitney was giving, but no, I want to date Jared. Oh, I'm going to prioritize Jared, which is probably the energy that she gives to her daughter. So the daughters are also feeling like, you're choosing this man over us, and this man is not even healthy for you. And this relationship isn't going anywhere. And mind you, as an example for her daughters, she should do better as not being so male-centered, because now you're regurgitating the same behavior onto them, and they probably will start doing that in their relationships. Hopefully not. It seems like they have more sense than she does. Lexi says that Jared is enjoying the limelight. Tara says, I get Whitney's advice, but she's also pretty. Exactly, Tara. You get where I'm coming from, because I felt like Whitney was coming from a place. This is why I don't go to people for advice, because then they start putting their trauma on you, and that's where their advice stems from, as opposed to giving you advice that might work for you. But at least Whitney was very open and transparent, like what happened with her mom, and that's what was guiding her perspective. Oh gosh, Mr. Melon Magic says, Kemp, the trollop is slow. You can't save her. Oh my God. Oh my God. Kendra, thank you so much for the super chat. Kendra says, we made Jared make his Instagram private. Woo, woo, woo. Oh, he made his Instagram private? You can tell I do not even care. I didn't even go to his profile. Tiny Sunflower says, it's sad to see when women don't learn lessons that the universe tries to teach them. I'd rather be single than be with someone who loves me halfway. Not even halfway. Do we even think that it's halfway? Do we even think that it's halfway? Sweet Cherry says, not trollop. I'm just waiting for K. Michelle to use that one. That's a good one. That's the one I still use. Don't be a trollop. But I'm trying to bring back bimbo. No, I still like Trollop. I like Trollop more than Bimbo. Anyone else? Which one do you guys prefer, Trollop or Bimbo? Let me know in the chat. And if you're part of the replay crew, please do the same. All right. Before we move on to this last scene, or last couple of scenes, I am going to drop the call-in link for our members first. So if you're a member of the channel or want to become a member, head on over to TheKempire.com/join. I am going to go to our post tab here on YouTube to drop the call link for members first. It's not a part of your perks, but we've added it as a part of your perks. So why not? All right. What time is it in New York right now? I said, it's already the evening here in the Europe cities. In the Europe cities, it's already evening here. And if you follow me on Instagram, I've posted some pictures. I've gone to some really good museums the last couple of days. That's how I travel. Some people, they go, they want to drink, they want to, do, those kinds of things. I love going to a museum. Thank you, Pageant Mommies. 12:07. It's a bright new day. Oh, I like Hussy. Hussy's a good one. Oh, Heather says, I like Harlot. Not us coming up with different names. Not Wench. Takesha said Wench. I think I like Wench. Oh my God, I think I like Wench. Y'all came in with new names up in here. Scallywag is my favorite. I love Harlot too. I love Harlot. Takesha says Strumpet. Trollop says Nikki. Miss Oscar says, I prefer Heffel. Brian says Hussy. Either Scientist says Floozy. Pink Popstar says Bimbo is still my favorite. Ham Sandwich says Bimbo. Angel says Trollop. Deborah says either. Foxy says Bimbo. Y'all are a mess. Not Scallywag. That's, nowadays the new term for like hoe is 304. That's the new way of I still prefer the old way, right? I still prefer the old way. Oh no, hold on. Tesker who's watching on Twitch. Shout out to our Twitch fam, guys. Make sure you follow me on Twitch, twitch.tv/TheKempire. Tesker says, because I stream it, well, I'm streaming in HD right now because I'm not at home with my camera. But the quality is amazing over there. Both audio and visual is great on Twitch. Tesker says, let's go Shakespeare with the insults too. I still like, get thee to a nunnery. Oh, wait, hold on. Miss Carolina says, yes, 304 and the 16s. What's the 16s mean? I mean, it means that, but how are we piecing that together? Can somebody explain that to me? Oh, Sarai says, I thought 304 was a hair color. Maybe it is. I don't know. Missy says, whore is best for hoe. Mr. Whistledown wants to explain for those that don't know. Where are we? What are we doing right now? We have taken a whole other left with this conversation. Miss Whistledown says 304 spells HOE backwards in texting language, y'all. Okay. Y'all are a mess. Okay, let me focus because I still have 2 scenes to get through, even though the last scene's not that long. So Bronwyn's conversation with her mom at home. Oh, so her daughter and her boyfriend, because the daughter and the boyfriend live under their roof, okay, in the East Wing. And they have a bowling league, but apparently it's not really a bowling league. It's just cute for something else. Their alone time. Are they going to a hotel? Like, what's happening? I mean, it couldn't be me. I don't have any kids. I don't know if I would have my kids living under a roof with me and they have their boyfriend in their bed. Nah. And that's where sometimes I can be old-fashioned because I could never do that in my own house. You think I'm going to allow my child to be, especially if I had a girl child? No. I mean, if your boyfriend was going through something and we had to, house him, he'd be in a separate room. But I also understand you can't stop kids if they're under your roof but I just can imagine you having sex under my roof and you're my child. I can't imagine it, but to each their own. I don't judge. But it couldn't be me. So they go to have their alone time. Okay. So Gwen is at the age that Bronwyn got pregnant. You already know Bronwyn's story. She got pregnant while she was at college. The father of Gwen died shortly thereafter. But even before that, the family basically disowned, well, not disowned because they're not her parents, but basically Bronwyn's parents who treated her all kinds of ways. But the father's parents basically acted as if Gwen never existed. Okay. So Bronwyn says that it doesn't bother her that her daughter, is living under her roof with a boyfriend. And her mother responds, she's like, well, that's why it doesn't bother her. And this is where I was like, yeah, I kind of get where the mother's coming from, why you set up the boundaries, and you set up this boundary of like, oh no, he can live under the roof. But she's like, it doesn't bother me. And she's like, and that's exactly why it doesn't bother Gwen. But when it comes from your mother, you know the tone, you know the facial expression, you feel like it's judgment. And she's like, oh, are we going there right now? Okay. So Bronwyn then rehashes what she went through when she found out that she was pregnant and how her mother treated her. And when she described it, I really felt for Bronwyn, because Bronwyn says, I didn't have a baby shower. She says she was not able to celebrate the fact that she was having this child because, her father had a position at the church and the mother was basically trying to hide all of this. So she retells the story when they went to Baby Gap. Her sister was also pregnant at the time. I think she said sisters were pregnant at the time, but we'll just assume that one sister was pregnant at the time. So they were buying stuff for the baby. And when speaking to the sales associate, she had asked the mom if she had found out that Bronwyn also was pregnant. She was like, oh, we're going to get something for Bronwyn's baby. And the mom was like, no. Ew. Because Bronwyn retells that she didn't have a baby shower. She was not able to celebrate this experience. But then the other element of this is that Bronwyn never had any more children after this. So she never had that experience of being pregnant and happy and enjoying it. But when she said she didn't have a baby shower, and then I can only imagine her parents probably made her feel terrible about having this child. So I really felt for Bronwyn. I was just like, oh, damn. Now I like the fact that she's giving us the backstory. Like, we got a little bit of what happened, but now we're getting the backstory. And we're getting the backstory from the parents that did it, at least from her mom. So this is where things started to go left with the mom, okay? Because Bronwyn's trying to tell her side and tell her how she felt at the time. And the mom was just like, oh, you were miserable? She's like, I was miserable trying to hide it. And then she talked about, and then, you dropped Gwen off you dropped Gwen off to me as daycare. And if you didn't do that, Gwen would have been in foster care. And Bronwyn was just like, don't do that. I was working. She didn't get to finish saying this, but I think she was trying to say that she was paying half the bills of the house. And then she also mentions that, don't make it seem as if Gwen would have ended up in foster care, because I never wanted to put her up for adoption. I would have gotten a second job if that's what was needed. I don't blame Bronwyn for being so annoyed and perturbed by what her mother was saying, because although her mother, in earlier scenes, she mentioned that her mother said that you should be a grandparent first before you're a parent. So apparently she hasn't learned a thing. She hasn't learned a damn thing about where she could have went wrong. But I think admitting that she went somewhere wrong would probably take away from all the conditioning that the church puts in people's minds, and how she felt then, and she probably still feels now, and she probably doesn't realize this. Yes, she probably is a lot more loving and soft with Gwen, but there's still those things I'm sure she still says to Gwen that is probably very similar to what she used to say to Bronwyn. Alejandro says that she's still resentful towards Bronwyn, which is so interesting to me. Because God only knows what she was hearing from the church. Maybe we'll hear more, because every week I feel like I'm learning something new about Bronwyn and her family dynamic. Missy says, to document these conversations on national television's even nastier work. Gwen's children will have access to this at some point. But maybe that will heal the trauma. sometimes I know this goes back to, especially with Black families, keep everything inside the house, don't share all this information. But you don't heal, you don't learn if you don't have these conversations. These conversations will not just affect people that look like Bronwyn or have similar backgrounds as Bronwyn, but other people, like I said at the top of this, I know we think we have a lot more different than we do, a lot more differences than we do, but truly we are more alike than we are different, especially when we think about these dynamics of friendships and family and things like that. Missy says she doesn't like Bronwyn. Kendra says her mom will never change. DJ says typical old school Mormon. Pinky Popstar says her mom is most definitely emotionally immature because at the end of the day, there was one adult there, you. Oof. Oof. Kat says, I'm not religious and neither were my parents, but they would definitely not help if I got pregnant at 18. I think my mom would have helped, but I think there still would have been a lot of little digs. You know what I mean? I think regardless, I think parents would be like, I'm not going to help, but they will help. But there will, they're going to help and have a lot of commentary on what you said and what you did. But none of my sisters got pregnant young like that. But I only had one sister though that had kids. But my brother, but when it's the man, it's a little bit different. It's a little bit different how the mother's going to treat you. You saw that on Bronwyn's, the baby's father's side, how they treated him. It's a little bit different. All right, let me get through this. If you remember the channel, I've dropped the call-in link on the community tab. We already have a few members that are backstage. I want to share their thoughts and opinions on the Housewives of Salt Lake City. Don't forget, you can also hear an audio version of our live recaps and special episodes on the Kempire podcast. Subscribe today. And while you're there, don't forget to give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. Foxy says, you got a brother? I have 2 brothers. I'm the youngest of 6. I'm the youngest of 6. All right, let me get through this last conversation, because this last conversation, Angie and Meredith, who have not been in the best place, meet up for some coffee. Okay, and Angie updates Meredith on what happened between her and Lisa and what Lisa texted her. So Angie claims that Lisa, she then decides to drop this bomb, that Lisa asked her to dig up info on Meredith, because remember, Meredith and Angie were going through things. Lisa and Meredith were okay. But like I said, after that whole, after every man in New York, I don't think their friendship ever was the same. Okay. So apparently Lisa told Angie to dig up information, gave her the names of people and talked about bankruptcies and shoplifting. Only person that would be able to verify that would be Meredith. Even if that's something that happened in her family, only Meredith would be able to she probably did do this. But Meredith in her confessional, I think, again, Meredith and Lisa have decided they're going to have an alliance. But Meredith is like, I don't trust Angie. We haven't been good. She's been lying about me for the last 2 years. I don't know if I believe her. Okay, but she tells Angie, I'm going to have to talk to Lisa about this. And Angie was like, you should. I believe Angie, because Angie knows what she's putting out there. Angie knows that she's going to tell this to Lisa. Who believes Angie? Let me know in the comment section and let me know in the live chat. I believe Angie. Okay? Mods, can you let me know how many likes we've gotten to before I drop the call-in link? Alejandro's paying for dessert tonight. Thank you, Alejandro. Alejandro says, my mom kicked me out for being gay at 19. I can relate to Bronwyn. See, and we didn't even think about that element. My mom kicked me out for being gay at the age of 19. I can relate to Bronwyn when it comes to having a religious mom. I stopped speaking to her for 10 years. She finally turned around and we speak now. Wow, Alejandro, I'm so sorry that happened to you. But, and that's the thing, we take for granted time, all that time you miss. And, we raise money for the center every Pride Month. Teens like Alejandro, I'm hoping Alejandro during that time didn't get into anything that did any harm to him. But there are some teens, when they're kicked out, they get into drugs. They do things in order to sort of numb the pain. They start drinking heavy because they've been kicked out and they don't have the support of their family. That's why places like the center are amazing, because they become a safe place for teens to go and be able to use the internet, find a job, get counseling, drug testing, support, just different programs. They even have, I believe they still even have Alcoholics Anonymous and if you have other issues like that. So that's why we do what we do in regards to fundraising for places like the center. So thank you to everyone that donated. We broke our record this year. So thank you to everyone that donated to that. Okay. Thank you, Foxy. Foxy says we're soon to 300 likes. We have over 800 and something of you guys watching on multiple platforms. So we appreciate that as well. Mr. Melon Magic, thank you so much for being a member for 7 months. He says Lorazepam and Meredith are closer than her and Seth. Lord. Kendra, thank you for another. All right, Kendra. Kendra's paying for dinner tonight and for lunch tomorrow. Kendra says, I think that's why Todd is so protective over Bronwyn. He knows that the people that were supposed to protect her failed to do so. And they've been together a long time, so he knows her full story at this particular point. But okay. But, thinking of which, they've been together for a long time, but Bronwyn worked for a period of time. Because remember, that's when she met Todd, she was working. So we got to give her some credit, because I know that's part of the reason why she was upset with her mom, trying to make it seem like Todd's the reason why she has the life that she has. Yes, in some respect. However, there was a period of time, Bronwyn's 30, 40s? I'm not sure. So we got to give her some respect. There was a period of time where she was just working and taking care of her and Gwen. All right. So let's move on. Let's get to our callers, guys. Again, keep in mind the opinions of the callers do not represent the opinions of myself, TheKempire LLC, or our sponsors. They agree to time themselves and keep it short and cute. I'm not going to pull out my timer. Just don't have the time. Y'all don't even hear it anyway. But keep it short and cute. Okay, short and shady is what we like to say over here. And if you haven't already, be sure to like the video. We're going to bring up our first caller. Miss Esquire, what did you want to share?
Hi, how are you?
Hey, how are you?
Hi. Am I gonna be on the video with my picture?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so me and you can just see each other.
Yeah.
Great. I wanted to say hello. I hope you're enjoying your travels. I think that one of the common themes in Housewives is mother wounds, and it just jumps out all the time. And maybe that just is one of the profiles of the women who are good TV for this kind of show, is that they have or are inflicting mother wounds, because I think that is a common theme between what's going on with Britani and Bronwyn. Is like Britani does not see herself as inflicting mother wounds on her daughter. She does not see herself as parentifying her daughters, because when your daughters have to tell you they don't think that you're in a healthy romantic relationship, you have parentified them. You have made them adults, but they should not have to protect you from yourself in that way. They should not have to sort of look out for you in that way. It's very unhealthy. And what it tells me is that she has done this before. And so they see the pattern and they're trying to intervene. I have my opinions about what you said about centering children, or centering your romantic relationship above your children. I personally disagree, just because as a single parent, I don't feel like I have the luxury of prioritizing a romantic relationship over my children. I'm their only parent. I'm their source of all of their safety and security in this world. But I will say, if I were in a healthy relationship, I think they would flourish as well, and they would get the benefits of that relationship. And so that's the only kind of romantic relationship I can be in. With Bronwyn, I think that she is really trying to heal a mother wound with her mother that her mother is not prepared to look at. She is not prepared to look at the harm that she created for Bronwyn or Gwen. And you're right, she thinks she loves Gwen, but there's no way that you love Gwen and you still hold this disdain for Bronwyn and how Gwen came into the world. That just cannot be true. And so I think it is actually very helpful that they're documenting this, because I think her mother may be a narcissist. And sometimes having a narcissist on record and letting them see themselves, like letting her see the replay of the episode, may actually be helpful to the healing. Somebody who does psychotherapy can, talk about that more. But I know with my own narc mother, it's actually really important sometimes that I be able to like repeat to her the exact thing she said so she can hear herself. And that's a part of her holding herself accountable. And it's the only way we're able.
How come that hasn't worked with Julia from Housewives of Miami?
I don't know how that's working with Julia, and I really don't, and really can't talk about the Miami bras. They got too much going on over there. I can't get into them. Like their mess is not fun mess to watch for me personally. Like I like the Salt Lake mess. I don't deal with the mess that they got going on, because when y'all talking about scissoring and messing with people's marriages and stuff like that, and you holding that as bait over folks, I can't. You start to get into Phaedra and Candy territory, and I can't be a part of it. I also said in the chat that I think that Bronwyn's relationship with her mom harkens a little bit to me, echoes a little bit to me to Candy and Mama Joyce's relationship without the religious trauma, because Mama Joyce really does hold over Candy's head, and not so obvious a way, the fact that she really helped Candy take care of Riley when she had Riley so young, and almost feels entitled to what Candy has because she did that, and is very like protective and almost territorial over Candy because of that. So I'm seeing some echoes. I'm not saying it's apples to apples, so don't drag me in the comments. But it's not apples to elevators either. So anyway, good to see you.
You too, Miss Esquire. Thanks for calling in.
Bye.
Take care. I love when Miss Esquire calls in. It's such a great introspection. Again, feel free to weigh in, but don't be dragging our guests. Okay. All right. April Aries is backstage. We're going to bring her up next. April Aries, what did you want to share about Real Housewives of Salt Lake City's latest episode?
Good afternoon, Kempire. How are you?
Well, how are you?
I'm good. So I totally agree with Miss Esquire. And I also want to say about Mary and her mother wounds that she had as well. I was like, it's almost like parents are in competition with their children and not realizing that you don't need to do that. You're here to be their confidant, their friend, their provider, not their like trigger warning, like bully, because I feel like that's why Bronwyn is also like not confident in herself, and that's still trying to navigate and find herself as a woman, as a mother. And I don't know what traumatized me more, Muzzy's eyebrows or just her whole demeanor. I know, I'm sorry, Kempire, I couldn't help it. I was like, there's no way you're going to talk about me. You're going to the assisted home.
No.
But it was a good episode, and I do believe what Angie said about what Lisa told her, because we all know how Lisa gets down. She can get very vindictive and shady, like she sent someone to pick up the clothing. It's like, girl, you could have said that at the table and then we would have just been done. But all in all, it was a good episode, and I really do hope that Bronwyn and Mary get the help that they need, because that's some deep-seated trauma. And enjoy the rest of your trip. Have a good day, Kempire.
Thanks, Avery. All right, let's bring up Angel next. Hold on. Yeah, there we go. Angel, what's going on?
Hey, Kempire. So I give the I'm good. How are you?
Doing well.
I give the episode a 9, like I said earlier. And the biggest takeaway I took away from the episode was trauma, universal trauma. Everybody's carrying it and they normalize it. And we shouldn't normalize trauma. It's something that we should say, this is not okay, and break the cycle. And for Bronwyn, I totally felt her when she said, her biggest fear is to carry on traits of her mother. When my ex-husband would say, you're acting like the fan thrower, that was the biggest insult he could tell me. Don't tell me I act like her, because I want nothing to do with her. I don't want to be anything like her. And so I can totally understand her saying that. And I'm not offended by it. And she shouldn't be offended.
Hold on. What do you mean by the fan thrower?
Well, she threw that fan back in the day at me and at the husband for missing curfew back in the day. That Scorpio mom, that controlling lady. So
okay, I forgot you're the Scorpio mom. That it all makes sense now.
Yeah, I could. And then also, not the religious portion of it, but the Bay Area. Bronwyn probably grew up, we're in a very liberal area, and she probably took it as, I was doing the right thing. This happened. I was just being a teenager, and why not support me and accept me for who I am and love me through it instead of isolating me and thinking you're teaching me a lesson. So I just hope that between Mary, Angie, Heather, all of the ladies, they are able to mature and grow through their trauma and stop being so high school with it and, using it as a peeing competition to say who's been through more. They should take it, band together, and, grow through it and help the audience grow as well. That's it.
All right. Thanks, Angel.
Bye, Kenneth. Have a good one.
You too. Vicky says, I grew up in the Bay Area. The Mormon church is very big. Oh, really? I didn't even know. I mean, remember, that's where Bronwyn's family was living, but they now moved to Salt Lake City to be with her. Deborah says, no Scorpio bashing. Who said anything about Scorpios? KEW is backstage. KEW, what's going on?
Hi, Kempire. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, hi, Chad. Hi, everyone. So I'm going to try and keep it as short and sweet as possible, as you said. Yeah. First of all, Heather, because we know that. Okay, go. I'm talking with Kempire. Oh my God, my son just came back from school. Can you just go? Sorry, Heather. We know that you are listening and you are watching in the bushes. So let me just tell you this: you were good this week. You were good at holding people accountable. Please carry on. Okay, so we know that you're taking notes. Also, Bronwyn, my heart broke for Bronwyn. I've got a very similar mom, and it's just, I just want to say that I don't think your mother likes you. She will not change. She's been like that your whole life. Honestly, you're gonna be in trouble after I finish this call. Please. I am not like Bronwyn's mom, okay? I love my child. But, it's Kempire's time. Bronwyn, your mother will not change. She doesn't like you. She's nasty. You need to protect your daughter, okay? Because I'm not going to make it about me, but I've seen it. Mothers like that, they don't change. And that's all I'm going to say before I go and sort out my own child.
We get it. Thank you, KEW, for calling in.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
I love these real moments. Look, we have a majority of women that watch this channel. So I get it. A lot of you had babies while following our channel. Hey, Drew Sidora News. We appreciate you being here. Did you guys see the new Drew Sidora, her short cover of Folded? I'm loving everyone doing these folded covers. I saw Toni Braxton did one. Brandy did one. That's Kalani's new song. I love it. I'm quiet as it's kept, and I love Kalani. Some of these remixes are better than hers, but I still like Kalani, but I'm listening to these other versions like, no, I want to hear more of this. But anyway. I think he says, is Drew pregnant? I ain't heard that. Pregnant by who? Elle says, heck, I thought she was talking to you, Kempire. No, I know it. The little boy came in. All right. Look, Lou says, 2-year-old mom. Hey. All right. I don't know how y'all do it. Okay. Let me bring up San. San, are you there?
Hey, can you hear me okay?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for giving us time to comment on this while you're on your vacation. It's been so long since I called in. I think I last called in on Marlo's mother wound. And I'm like, I'm calling in on another mother issue type of conversation. But I can relate. And it's always funny thinking that the immigrants or maybe Black people or Asian people have these dynamics with their families, but seeing these white girls, and then I have a lot of, white friends who can relate in a different way to these dynamics with especially mothers, and that level of obligation that you were talking about. It's hard to break away from. My mother wound was the first time I was in therapy. And unfortunately, unfortunately for her, better for me, we're in a place where it's cordial, happy birthday, happy new month, maybe Merry Christmas. Distance helps, but it's even just watching this episode, I was a little bit triggered, to be honest, because I'm like, what would it look like for me as my parents are getting older? Wanting to take care of them. I have conversations with my partner. One of the things I did not want to do was bring children into this world that ultimately end up in therapy primarily because of me. That's still something I struggle with, thinking of this road of motherhood. And so this episode was just really like, Bronwyn, you are better than me because I have ghosted my Black African mother for less. And so, and then just, I guess the last point, I read this book called Mothers Who Cannot Love. I have the tab open. Mothers Who Can't Love, A Healing Guide for Daughters. I'd highly recommend it. And it kind of gives advice on which steps are you going to take. Are you going to try and be cordial and possibly keep getting heartbroken? Are you going to go no contact? Are you going to try and establish boundaries? But to establish boundaries, you need a reasonable person to deal with here. And so, this was a good episode. It really got the wheels turning for me, kind of in a triggering way, but just reaffirmed that, with some mothers, you cannot force the relationship. Put them in the nursing home, pay for that, do your part. But this whole maintaining relationship, it's not always going to work out. And then you do have to continuously grieve the relationship you deserved, and then I guess become the mother or adult you needed. But that's just my take on the mommy issues. Thank you.
And can you tell the audience again the name of the book?
It is, okay, let me open up the tab again. Mothers Who Can't Love, A Healing Guide for Daughters by Donna Frazier and Susan Forward. Really good. It was really hard. It was really, don't go into that book lightly. I don't know if there's a Fathers Who Cannot Love book, but it was definitely good. And thank you for letting us talk today. Enjoy the rest of your vacation.
Thank you. Take care. All right. I love these conversations. I love how our conversations go to a different direction here in our community. It's always a healing conversation. Paris said, unrelated, did you hear about Amrit? Not really unrelated when you think about what we're talking about. Paris says, unrelated, did you hear about Amrit is having a baby girl, I think with his husband. With his husband. And their parents threw them a baby shower. Are we surprised? And we're missing out on all of this, y'all. Bring back family karma. Mary Jane says, yes, family karma star Amrit Kapai and his husband, Nicholas, I'm not going to even try, are expecting their first child in November via surrogate. Yeah, I think I did like a short form video talking about that. And then also saying, bravo, where are the cameras? We were missing out on all of this. Whatlet says, my mother sent me to therapy, telling the therapist I'm the problem. 4 therapists later, she finally gave up. She couldn't handle she was the problem, but thanks to the therapy, Mom, I'm strong. Oh, gosh. All right. Let me bring up Nicole next. Nicole, what did you want to share about the Housewives of Salt Lake City?
Hi, Kempire. Hope you're having a great time overseas, enjoying life. You look beautiful.
Thank you.
I enjoy all your callers, the community, because this is triggering to me, too, because I'm hoping that Bronwyn is listening to this because I'm an only child, and the mommy wound is there too, especially when you're dealing with a baby boomer who feels like everything is perfect. There's no issues, no problems. And I had been begging her for years to go to therapy. So what I wanted to say is I grew up where a mother who never wanted to have children. And so as I got older, it's a reflection of all the pressures in America, making women feeling like you're less than or whatever, because you're supposed to have this whole family. But I'm actually dealing with the issues of a mother who never wanted to have children. He loves me. I get it. I went to my therapy too, And so that's why I'm listening to all the women callers, because I think that wound will always be there. You have to make a choice to distance yourself, even when you're trying to communicate with that parent, mother. What I had to learn over the years is separate my mother. I had to look at her like she wasn't just my mother. She was a young girl with aspirations and dreams. And that's what made me heal over the years, because she had aspirations, dreams. And I was a birth control pill baby. So she didn't find out she was pregnant with me until 7 months. So she had less than a month and a half to prepare for me. You get what I'm saying?
Both physically and mentally.
Yeah, exactly. So what you're saying probably with a lot of the women in this country, that's why I'm always protesting and fighting for women's rights issues in this country. Because even though there are a lot of women out here who really don't want to have children, and and that's why I get upset, and I try to tell my male friends, I'm like, every woman doesn't want to be a mother. Stop forcing that on them, and then when they actually do have a child, they're trying to deal with that situation. And then during that time, she had postpartum depression. I'm 51. So at that time, it wasn't really talked about.
What to say?
You get what I'm saying, Kempire? So I'm
real. Now it's like, they're getting better at it. But.
Exactly. And so that's why I'm appreciating all these women that are calling in, because I'm sure, just like myself, there's a hurt and there's a pain that's there. And you're just trying to talk to your parent. And so when I see Bronwyn, I love her. She's beautiful. I love her fashion, everything. But we all get it. That's why it's triggering. That's why you're getting these calls today. So
everybody's I didn't realize it.
Yeah. So not every woman wants to have children. And then when they're put in that situation, they're trying to figure it out. Because I noticed like the whole time in my relationship with my mother, I was giving her grace, because it was just like, she's trying to figure out how to be a parent. There's no book. There's no book out there to tell a mother how to be a mother. You're just learning.
You know who also has a mother wound that's openly talks about it? Oprah Winfrey.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Her mother wound. And then she talked about it recently after her mother died.
Yeah.
How all of that affected her. Like, guys, Google Schmoogle, because she's talked about it, I believe, on her YouTube, or she's interviews. So if you want more conversation with someone that might be relatable to what you're going through, it's a worth.
And I've always loved Oprah, and I loved her journey. So I know that's why she went to her grandmother at a young child in Mississippi. And that was the same thing with me, where I was closer to my grandmother, my mom's mom. And I tell her this as a grown woman. I said, your mother made mistakes with you and her children. But when the grandchildren came into place, she wanted to make those things right. So that's why you see sometimes the grandchildren are more closer to the grandparent, because they're trying to make up for those mistakes they did with their own children. So thank you for this conversation, sweetheart.
Thank you, Nicole, for calling in and sharing your story.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. I saved some of the comments that you guys, a couple of the comments I saved. I couldn't save everything, so I was trying to listen to Nicole at the same time. Bloomingtail says, my mother is deceased, and I wonder what our relationship would have been. My older sister has mom hurt. Interesting. And I think siblings also tell you that they feel like their relationship with their parents is fairly different than the other. So you may have felt the same, or you may have felt very different. Who knows? Miss Esquire says, and people want to drag Ayesha Curry for saying having kids and being a wife wasn't necessarily her vision for her life. I saw that was a trending topic while I've been away. I haven't covered all the topics, but I stay tuned, because she did an interview. Was it call me daddy, call her daddy? Or Call Me Down, what the hell that podcast is called. I see all the kids are going on there though. Are y'all going on never mind, I'm gonna leave it alone. If you haven't liked the video already, be sure to like the video. Jermaine says, I have issues with my mom too, but I never thought so many other people did too. See, this is why it is great to have these conversations. This is why it's great to have people willing to share their lives on a reality show. Jesse says, absolutely, forcing women to have children is a part of the reason why parental traumas will never end. Kendra, thank you for being a member for 5 months. Kendra says, OMG, it's time for your dinner and you are live. Thanks. Well, I can eat dinner right after. I'm about to get off here anyway, but I appreciate everyone calling in. This Esquire, thank you so much for the super chat. This Esquire says, your mom is just a girl doing life for the first time. Humanizing her is so important to your journey. Doesn't excuse her harm, but helps you heal. That's beautifully said. Beautifully said. Okay, I love this. Lexi says, I had the best mom ever, but my dad, crying face emoji. KEW says, as a result, I decided to have only one child because I never wanted him to feel I don't have time for him or that I don't love him. He will have my undivided love, just not during Kempire time. Just not during Kempire. I'm playing. Hold on, wait. I'm missing my comments here. Thank you so much, Patricia. Patricia said, Kempire, this is a great live. The episode brought out a lot, as you can see, right? You just never know, but that's our community. Our community is very introspective, which I learned from you guys. That's one of the best parts of my job is yes, I have my own life experiences, but I feel like I learned so much. This is why if I say something incorrectly or I do something incorrectly, I learned. I'm not going to sit here and be like, I know everything. I know that's a Taurus trait where we feel like we know everything and that we are always right. I understand that I'm not always right. I don't always approach everything in the best way or say things in the best way. I learn from you. I learn from all of you guys every day. And I think we should give each other grace that not everyone knows everything. Okay. Especially those of us that put ourselves out there providing commentary, every single day. We might say things that's off the cuff. We might say things that might trigger you, but you also have to keep in mind, was that our intention? I hope I didn't trigger any of you guys today, but I'm glad that this conversation might have healed some of you. I definitely learned a lot, and I appreciate you all being here. And thank you to everyone that called in, that engaged in our YouTube chat, our TikTok chat, those of you watching on Twitter, those of you watching on Facebook. We appreciate you guys as well. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your Wednesday. I can't believe it's already hump day. Like, come on now. But as you can see, I'm still away. And I'm going to still be away. So buckle up. But I'm still giving you recaps. I don't know when our next live will probably be Real Housewives of Miami. OC, I probably will do what I did this last one, maybe over the weekend. Maybe. No promises. Or maybe when I get back. Who knows? All right. Jennifer says, thank you, Kemp and callers, for sharing. I had a breakthrough. Oh, Jennifer, I love that. Let me see what else. Patricia says, child, we all triggered in this chat, good and bad. Hold on, Melissa's watching on Facebook. Melissa says, so glad I caught this live. So good. Pink Pop Star says, whoa, Tiny, this was a lot to unpack. I feel it sometimes, but having it said is another thing. Deborah says, one day closer to my vacation. Tisha's T says, just watched you on Humble Brag. Proud of you, Kempire. Yes, guys, if you didn't know, I was on Cynthia Bailey and Crystal Kung Minkoff's podcast, Humble Brag, this week. Go right, because if you watched the interview already, I said I wanted our interview to be the biggest interview that they've ever had. I mean, they did have Nene on there, but come on, we could do it. We have more subscribers here on YouTube than Nene. I'm playing. But if you haven't already, go to their YouTube channel, go to their podcast, go leave a 5-star review on their podcast and say, I came in because Kempire brought me here and I'm staying because I love the podcast. And then go leave a comment on the YouTube channel. I will say, though, how many views we got on that video now? Let me go look, because I said in 24 hours, it was already over 19,000 views? Let me look. And for those that watched it already, go watch it again. We are at 24,000 views in 2 days. Come on now. Shout out to Cynthia and Crystal. As I said to you before, going into the interview, you just never know because I've commented on both of them on my platform. You just never know how people are going to, especially Crystal. I was sort of like, I wonder, because you just never know. I was ready, though. I was ready. Put them up. But no, she was very honest. She was like, I used to watch your reviews. We know a lot of producers and Bravo celebrities watch the reviews, but not all of them will admit it. Right, Dr. Wendy? If you missed the video that I did on Brooke Ashley's tea, go check out the video, because that was one of the things that Wendy said to Brooke. She was just like, I don't even watch your channel, but my people do. Yeah, girl, you were over there and you probably watched that video that Brooke did on you. Whatever. See, Ariana says, I never thought you were hard on Crystal. Did you watch every review? No, I'm playing. But you will also say that since they started the podcast, I don't talk about a lot of other podcasts, especially when they're centered around, their podcast isn't centered around housewives, but they were former housewives. But that was one of the podcasts I was like, guys, I like this podcast. It's such an easy listen. So I was so happy because we were part of the same podcast family. So I was so happy that we were able to make that happen. And here we are. We had a great conversation. I can't wait for them to do my podcast, but I want that to be in person. I want us to sit together and have a good kiki, and I want it to be like 3 hours. So stay tuned. We're going to make that happen. I don't know if it's going to happen this year, though, because this year's wrapping up. Y'all, we're in October. The holidays are coming up. I'm ready. I bought a bunch of stuff while I was traveling. I already bought stuff in Ireland. I'm buying stuff here in the Netherlands. I'm shopping for the holidays. I got ornaments, y'all. Maybe I will do an unboxing when I get back home, but follow me on TikTok at TheKempire on TikTok, or maybe I'll do one here. We'll do some unboxing of the things that I bought. I might have to get another piece of luggage. I like to shop. That's my love language. But I don't like when people buy me stuff, because if you don't put a lot of thought into what you're buying me, I'd rather you not get me anything. But that's me. But I like to buy things for people too. What are we talking about? I need to go. I'll do a separate live talking about my trip or something like that. But follow me on TikTok, because I might go live on TikTok later today, because it's evening here, but it's afternoon and morning in other places. So if you want to hear more about my trip and stuff, I don't think I'll do any unboxing because everything's like wrapped up nicely. All right, enough about this. Thank you to everyone for being here. Thank you to everyone that's listening on the podcast. Don't forget, you never know, sometimes I add new commentary to the podcast versions, or I add exclusive episodes. Matter of fact, what I probably will work on, see what I'm doing? I'm still working, y'all, while I'm traveling. I probably will work on the Club Kempire podcast, and that's where I'll spill the tea, all the stuff that I've been doing, seeing, and learning. This, again, the best education you'll have is from traveling. All right. Thank you. The Riz is watching on Twitch. Your butter is buttering. Yes, skincare products. Head on over to my TikTok shop, TheKempire on TikTok, and you can get it. Happy Libra season, SD. Hold on. Lou says your billionaire will be thoughtful. I'm sure he better be. And because I know you're worth $1 billion, billions of roses. Anyway. All right, guys. Everyone have a fantastic rest of your evening, afternoon, or morning. Thank you, Angelique, for the suggestions. Please give a good luck to the Detroit Tigers baseball. I'm glad you added the baseball at the end, because I was like, Detroit Tigers. Good luck to the Detroit Tigers. Shout out to Detroit. Rocky says, Kempire, what's the one thing you won't compromise when traveling and choosing a place to stay? And there's a lot of things that I won't compromise, as you can tell. One thing that I won't compromise when traveling, it's got to be comfortable. Because the other place that I was staying, it's very similar to this setup. It's like an apart hotel. One thing I won't compromise, that's a really good question. I just feel like there's a lot of things that I don't compromise. Like, I will compromise the bed size as long as it's not a twin. You know what I mean? Like, I'll do full size. I'll do, queen, king, preferably a king. But yeah, I don't know. Like, even size, like, even it doesn't necessarily have to be huge. Oh, period. Cleanliness. It's got to be clean. It's definitely got to be clean. I'm sure there's things. I haven't thought about it. I just haven't thought about it. It doesn't have to have a balcony or a tub. Even though I wouldn't mind a tub. This one doesn't have a tub. That's the only time I'll probably get to be like able to soak in a proper tub, like a big tub. Like my tub at home is not big enough. It's big enough, but it's not going to be comfortable. All right. Ariana says must have white sheets. Okay. J-Lo with candles and everything too. Okay. All right, guys, this was fun. Glad that we could have these conversations. We can continue these conversations on other platforms, so make sure you're following me. If you haven't liked the video already, be sure to like the video. If you're watching on Twitch, go follow me on YouTube, Facebook, and on Twitter, and on TikTok. If you're watching on Twitch, make sure you're following me on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, all the places, okay? Queen T says, did you get your Portia sheets? I never ordered any. Just saying. All right, y'all. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Thank you so much for being here for our Real Housewives of Salt Lake City recap. What a great conversation. Let's continue this conversation in the comment section. Thank you to our King Scars. Thank you to our channel members. Thank you to our subscribers and those of you watching in the bushes.
Thanks for tuning in to Kempire here on the Kempire Radio Network. As always, don't forget to give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. And for more details on everything Kempire, be sure to check out the episode notes, including our new merch.